do cause a semblance of meaningful or comprehensible perception. In the same way, although the identification of the conditioned soul with the material body, mind, and ego is illusory, this identification generates fear within him, even up to the moment of death. Purport. Although shadows, echoes, and mirages are mere reflections of real substances, they create strong emotions in persons falsely accepting them as real. In the same manner, a conditioned soul is seized by such emotions as fear, lust, anger, and hope, because of his illusory perception of himself as a material body, mind, and false ego. By practical example, it is thus shown that even illusory objects may cause highly emotional reactions. Ultimately, our emotions should be absorbed in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is eternal truth. Fear is forever vanquished when one takes shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. One can then enjoy the pure emotions of liberated life. Om Gana Chidanandasya Gana Jana Shakaya Chakshurita Yena Tasmai Shri Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhupada Shri Advaita Swasti Gaura Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Conditioned life means seized by emotions due to our association with material energy. Those emotions are felt unfavorably, and the result is unfavorable because such emotions are generated by contact with the material energy. So although we want to be for real in our personal expression, although we want to be genuine in our walk through life, and we take our emotions as very personal, very close to us, nevertheless, we must understand what triggers these emotions in us. Karna, Gunasangasa, Sadasati, and Janasu. We're seized upon, as you read in the purport. These emotions such as fear, lust, anger, and hope seize us. Ordinarily, we don't like to be seized upon by anything. But if that experience that seizes us seems to please our senses, we welcome that. This shows our weakness for absorption. We want an enthralling experience, and we're looking to the material energy for that enthralling experience, that all-consuming experience. That's why conditioned souls are so attached to the bhava, the biological interactions between male and female, because those biological interactions seem to offer just an all-consuming paradise in which you can even think to lose yourself. Bhakti Yoga takes that hankering for absorption and applies it to Krishna's service, where it belongs. Therefore, the Bhakti texts extol the glories of engagement in devotional service. And the Bhakti texts are always pushing aside material motivations, because that gets in the way of the pure enthrallment and the pure reciprocation. So it's not that we are some kind of fanatics who just are trying to torture ourselves by ridding ourselves of even traces of material contamination. Through Srimad Bhagavatam, we understand that there's nothing innocent about material contamination. It's getting in the way, it's ruining our opportunity for perfect enthrallment, perfect absorption in service to Krishna. And this quest for perfect enthrallment keeps us motivated in bhakti. It keeps us going year after year. We have tasted a dynamic, an inner dynamic that the material energy can't offer. We have no doubts that there is the reality of bhakti rasa, the taste of loving devotional service to Krishna. And we want to feel what it's like to be a devotee. To feel what it's like to be a devotee means to live your life in relationship to Krishna as his servant. We want to feel what is that like? And then we know we're on the platform of reality. Otherwise, the emotional experiences of the illusory energy beckon to us and actually seize us. We are open for that. Without service to Krishna, we're wide open to material emotional experiences because we want to feel. This may be embarrassing to admit, but we want to feel. We want to have fulfillment. Without Krishna's service at the core of our life, this no doubt will be filled up by material experiences, material emotions, material hopes, certainly material lusts. This verse describes that the presence of shadows, echoes, and mirages indicate that there is something real. And because these shadows, echoes, and mirages are reflections of real things, they do seem to carry some meaning or comprehensible perception. In terms of the Upanishads, we would explain that because the unreal is coming from the real, therefore even the unreal has a trace of reality. Because the illusory energy is Krishna's illusory energy, coming from him, the supreme real. Therefore, in the illusory energy, you can find some semblance of meaning and comprehensible perception. It seems to almost make sense because it's coming from the supreme sense. It's coming from Krishna, therefore there seems to be some enticing value in the material energy. But, as you know, a reflection, an echo, a mirage, doesn't have the substance that you require. Sometimes devotees wonder, will there ever be any hope that I get over this contamination? And often we may forget that the illusory energy comes from Krishna. And if Krishna desires, he can turn off the switch. Remember Srila Prabhupada, upon arriving on the boat to the USA, and he frankly admitted, how will these people ever become Krishna conscious? You see the heart and the emotions and the intelligence of a soul totally dedicated to Krishna's pleasure. And he's wondering, how will these people ever become Krishna conscious? It looks impossible. So we're not the only ones to feel like that. But, Srila Prabhupada said, I know that he expressed his conviction. I know that if they hear the sound vibration of Srimad Bhagavatam, all the pollutants in their heart will be cleansed. So on the one hand, he's expressing incredulousness. Oh, look at this situation. He hadn't even got off the boat yet. Just look at the situation. How will these people ever make any advancement? At the same time, while expressing that hopelessness, he expresses complete confidence. Srimvata Sakata Krishna Punya Shravana. I know that if that sound vibration enters their ear, they'll be cleansed. I know that. And then he further expressed his confidence in Krishna by saying, by your will they went into Maya, so by your will they can come out of Maya. You're the supreme magician. So I'm just placing myself before you as your insignificant beggar. You make me dance as you like. When we remember that illusion energy comes from Krishna, we see the personalistic approach, which is to satisfy Krishna, and then Krishna makes adjustments. The illusion energy is not operating separate from Krishna. Our very perception is 100% dependent on Krishna, as he says in Bhagavad Gita, Mata Smriti Jnana Vibodham Cha. From me comes all knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. As you know, if you want to revolt against Krishna, if you want to be in a store, you need Krishna's help. He has to help you to forget him. This is how helpless you are. You can't even get Krishna out of your hair, so to speak, unless he helps you. So if you want to revolt, if you want to separate yourself from Krishna, you have to depend on him. And of course, if you want to remember Krishna, we depend on him. He helps the devotees in forgetfulness also. He helps devotees to forget their material desires. You may wonder, how will I ever get certain kinks out of my system? How will I ever get over certain memories and experiences and contaminated longings? Krishna helps his devotees forget their material desires as they engage in devotional service. This is the miracle of bhakti. Our perceptions depend completely on Krishna. Even in the perfected stage of life, you see what Krishna wants you to see, what's best for his pleasure pastimes. Just like when in Mathura, Krishna was thinking, my devotees in Vrindavan, they're suffering so much in separation. Who can I send there that will pacify them? So he thought of Uddhava. Uddhava has done so many austerities. He's qualified to go to Braj. And secondly, he said, because of Uddhava's stature, because of Uddhava's reputation, when he comes back from Vrindavan to Mathura and tells the Mathuravasis of the supremacy of Braj Bhakti, they'll believe him. Otherwise, if I send anyone else, the Mathuravasis may not accept. Because the Mathuravasis think that they love Krishna, their love of Krishna is the best, and especially Vasudeva and Devaki, the mother and father of Krishna, they are in the highest position. But when Uddhava comes back from Vrindavan to give a report and teach them the highest level of praying, they'll accept it because of his stature, because of his reputation. You may remember that when Krishna went to Kubja's house to fulfill his promise, he didn't go alone. Of course, Krishna's going to Kubja's house had nothing to do with any material program. But still, Krishna was conscious of how things might appear. It's part of his art. So he took Uddhava with him, thinking that I'm going to Kubja's house, she's a well-known society girl, but when people hear that Uddhava's with me, everything's all right. Everything is above board. So, Krishna is sending Uddhava to Vrindavan. And upon Uddhava's arrival, he saw the beauty of Vrindavan at sunset. The cows mooing, being milked, the bulls in heat, the homes decorated with sacrificial fires for Surya and the other demigods, the smell of incense everywhere, the sounds of the cowherd men giving orders for milking the cows or setting the cows loose or tying up the cows. Uddhava saw this inconceivably beautiful scene. But what was actually going on? Due to Krishna's Ichcha Shakti, Krishna's, his will, in short, his will, Yogamaya had covered the grievous suffering of Vrindavan, so Uddhava didn't see it upon arrival. Uddhava just saw such a beautiful scene, and he didn't see the devastation until he entered Nanda Maharaj's house. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains it didn't hit him. He wasn't allowed to see. Krishna wanted him to see Vrindavan as it was when Krishna is there. So Uddhava got that experience. And the perception changed when he entered Nanda Maharaj's house. And then the devastation hit him. Nanda Maharaj was able to hold a conversation, get himself together to hold a conversation simply because of Uddhava's stature, and he looked just like Krishna. Otherwise, Nanda Maharaj wouldn't have been able to rally himself. How was Nanda Maharaj able to offer Uddhava something to eat? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that actually all the kitchens in Vrindavan were dirty, unused, with weeds and spiders, because they considered that they were dead. Because Krishna is gone. They just considered, what's the point of eating? We're all dead. But to feed Uddhava, one Brahmana had some broken rice and he put it in some milk, and so Uddhava was able to eat something. So gradually, the perception of Uddhava changed, and he was able to see Vrindavan in its devastation. See, this is an example of how even in the most perfect stage, you're still dependent on Krishna. You see what he wants you to see for his pleasure. You're a cooperator in his pastimes, and that's much higher than being a know-it-all. Just like Prabhupada writes about Mother Yashoda in the 10th canto Bhagavatam, Damodar Leela. Mother Yashoda did not care to know who Krishna was in terms of tattva. She did not care to understand how he's unlimited and all-pervading. She's just thinking, this is my son. I have to discipline him. He's so restless. He may run into the forest, so I have to bind him. Krishna himself, Sanatana Goswami points out in Brihad Bhagavatam that Krishna himself is subject to forgetfulness, overwhelmed by praying. He and the residents of Vrindavan forget that they have participated in the same pastime. In Loka Vrindavan, they don't remember that again and again Krishna lifts Govardhan Hill. Again and again, there's this pastime or that pastime, because they're Nitya Leela. But each time, the pastime is ever fresh. In material existence, who wants to watch a rerun movie? But Krishna's pastimes, the proof that Krishna's pastimes are so enthralling is that Krishna does basically the same thing over and over again. And each time, the Brajvasis get 100% caught up in it, like it never happened before. When Krishna leaves Vrindavan for Mathura, somehow they arrange that in Vrindavan. So, then he returns. There's only, Sanatana Goswami explains, there's only, at best, some tiny memory in the consciousness of the Golokavasis. Didn't something bad sort of happen in the past? I can't remember exactly what it was. Did Krishna leave? Just at best, a tiny wisp of a memory. But again, the pastime happens, and everyone is totally caught up in it. Well, this is how inconceivable Krishna is. The proof of the potency of his passives. He doesn't have a little difference. So maybe it sounds a little like word gender to you. You have to think about it. Wait a minute. He doesn't want to give us miseries, even though the miseries are here. But what he wants to do is teach us that the miseries are unnecessary. Seems to be kind of a fine difference, yes? It's a learning experience for us to understand that it's all unnecessary. And in that way, it's Krishna's mercy. Sometimes devotees become discouraged. How will I ever get out of this illusion? Sometimes we become embarrassed. Memories spring into our consciousness. Srila Prabhupada said a very interesting thing about the occurrence that you're chanting your japa, you're reading a Krishna book, and all of a sudden, some unsavory memory of your past atrocities comes to your consciousness. You know, oh my goodness, this is hopeless. Here I am chanting, here I am reading Krishna book, and that stuff's coming to my mind. The explanation Srila Prabhupada gave was that Super Soul is giving you a choice. Do you remember? This is what you did. Is that what you want, or do you want me? Because by giving you a choice and you choosing you choosing Krishna, you become stronger. So we shouldn't be afraid of choice. The whole bhakti process in the beginning is about building up our choice muscles, so to speak. So we thrive on choice. Especially when we're in good association, it's always easy to make the right choice. You basically choose according to how you're associated. If we have inspiring bhakti association, it's easy to choose the right thing. And the more we choose Krishna, the more attracted to Krishna we become. So the Super Soul is saying, do you want this? Do you remember you did this? Or do you want that? We shouldn't become intimidated. Oh, how long can I go on like this, choosing? Maybe there'll come a time and I'll choose wrongly and my whole bhakti career will be finished, and maybe I should just give up now. The choice opportunities are special, and they make us stronger, and you can see the result. When you make the right choice, you feel more attracted to Krishna. So Krishna knows what he's doing. This illusory energy, for an advanced devotee, is actually mercy. Maya as an illusion becomes Maya as mercy, in that it drives you to Krishna. Like you're walking down the street and a little dog starts chasing at your heels, and so you start walking faster to get to you get to your destination faster. So in the advanced stages of bhakti, Maya does a service by chasing you back to Krishna. The same Maya that intimidates you so much. How will I ever get out of material existence? How will I ever get over these anartas I have? And seems hopeless. Maybe I should just give in now. The more you choose properly, the stronger you become. So the so-called crises are simply an opportunity to choose Krishna. And then, after a while, you know you're going to choose Krishna. And it gives you such a sense of real satisfaction and happiness. You know that you're going to choose Krishna. Of course, you're not proud that you think you're infallible, but if you are crying out to Krishna in dependency, obviously you're going to choose Krishna because you're crying out to him. We shouldn't feel that it's so hopeless that I got these things in my mind. Gosh, where did that come from? Maya knocks on the door of your consciousness. What about this? Do you remember when you did that? Don't you want to do this now? Come on, it wasn't really so bad, was it? It was kind of good, huh? And you start shaking. Oh no. Oh. It's It's an opportunity to choose Krishna. And the more you choose Krishna, the stronger you become. The bhakti process is not hopeless. It is full of the greatest hope that you'll realize your hopes. But Krishna has his own timetable, and we have to learn to work with that. Bhakti is a personalized process. So what happens to one devotee may not happen to another devotee in terms of material obstacles. It may seem like other devotees are getting all the spiritual benefits and you're not getting them. Of course, each devotee always thinks that the other devotees are better, the other devotees are more fortunate. But sometimes you can kind of put yourself down in an improper way, thinking that, oh, everyone else gets the mercy, not me. And, Krishna will give us the intelligence to see how his care for his devotees begins from the moment they take shelter of him. Elsewhere in the Bhagavatam, it's stated that even a neophyte receives the personal care of Krishna. But you just don't see it. As you become more Krishna conscious, you are conscious more of how Krishna is arranging for you, even in your beginning stage. But in the beginning, you don't see it. Just like a little child doesn't know all the things that the parents are doing to maintain the child, to nourish the child. They don't. But when you get older, if you have good parents, you begin to appreciate that, and you become grateful, but not when you're a little kid. A last point, we mentioned yesterday about various reactions I've noticed. Guests who frequent our lounges and lofts and outreach centers, I've noticed the reactions they have to hearing about the illusory energy and realizing that they may be an illusion. They may be just lost in a shadow world full of echoes and mirages, which simply indicate that there is a real world somewhere else. So, one reaction is resignation. Well, look, you know, I didn't make the world the way it is, you know, and everyone's acting in this way. What do you want out of me, you know? I know it's not the best thing, but this is the way the real world is, and you just gotta go with that, you know? Kind of resignation. It's just, what can you do? Yeah, it's a shame, isn't it? But that's just the way life is in the big city, you know? So, it's not the best, but you just gotta work with the situation as it is and try to make the best of it. Resignation. And then there's the complete denial approach. Everything's fine. Just, you want to see beauty, just think everything is beautiful. You'll see beauty. You want to feel happiness, just think happiness is everywhere. Love is everywhere. It's just all up to you and your mindset. Magical thinking. If you're walking down the street and you're thinking, strawberry ice cream. And if you think about it powerfully enough, out of the blue, someone will come up to you and say, would you like some strawberry ice cream? Hasn't that happened to you? No, it hasn't happened to you? You're not tuned in. It's time to come to that level here. So this is the denial approach. It's everything's fine. Everything is just beautiful. What's the problem? And then the reaction that I mentioned, which got I felt the greatest emotional impact from the audience, was the defiance approach. I was shocked. Look, all right, so what if it's an illusion? I don't care. I'm going to enjoy anyway. It may all be a dream. It doesn't matter. I'll show my individual worth by just going on, even though it's all an illusion. I'll just get what I need to get and want to get. Never mind that it's all cosmic phantasmagoria. I'll show my worth by just enjoying myself anyway, even though it's all illusion. What do you say about that? So when I mentioned that, I could feel the hearts just resonate. Yeah, that's real valor. Maybe I'm not like that completely, but it seems to have some value. You know, you're really, you're a hero in that way. You know it's pointless, but still you're going to go out and enjoy it. This is the defiant approach. So I was shocked how many persons can see, they can resonate to some degree with that defiance. As if it's like the symptom of a real human being. Even if you know it's illusion, so what? Just go out and do what you gotta do. Try to enjoy anyway. And that shows how great you are. So again, it may seem impossible dealing with all these different types. Remember, Srila Prabhupada also had that reaction. This is impossible. How are these people ever going to be Krishna conscious? He said, I have complete faith in hearing about Krishna. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was, he was quite something. He said, when he sent a few disciples to London, and he was corresponding with them, he wrote one letter saying that just go on endeavoring. You won't see the results of your efforts for 100 years. Just go out on Sankirtan and go on, you won't see the results of your endeavor for 100 years. And if you read Prabhupada's letters and instructions in the Devamrita to the devotees who first went out to open centers, it was always that you just call out to Krishna. People may come, they may not come, but you try to please Krishna by your endeavors. Now there's another extreme. It's called absolutism, that we don't have to worry about presentation, we don't have to worry about any finesse, we don't have to worry about any sensitivity, because we just give them, never mind about any, taking any pains so that they'll assimilate, go out on Harinam with mismatched socks. Wake up your neighbors at 4:30 in the morning with a thunderous kirtan, and if they protest, what do you say?
They're in Maya.
Right. It's the potency of the holy name. The demons are protesting. So that's another extreme. We are concerned about presentation. We are concerned about giving the medicine. But the presentation involves giving the medicine. We may package it this way and that way, manage the situation this way and that way, but we do deliver the goods. I remember Prabhupada's one definition of management. He said, management means to create an interest in Krishna where there is none. That's management. Where was I speaking? I was in Dallas, Texas, last week. Do any of you remember Maypo cereal?
Yeah.
Yes. Remember the Marky Maypo commercials? Yeah. Marky Maypo was a little boy, and he wouldn't eat his Maypo. And so his mother had to go through so many intricacies to get him to eat the Maypo. First, she would try to give it to him straight on a spoon. Okay, Marky, here it is, Maypo. loaded with nutrition, loaded with nutrition. Just stick the spoon in his mouth, and Marky would just slam his mouth shut. So then his mother would go through various intricate patterns. She'd take the spoon and twirl it around her head. Here it is, Marky, loaded with nutrition, loaded with value. And then after an intricate maneuver, maple! And Marky would just slam his mouth shut. But finally, the mother came up with some winning managemental arrangement where she could bring the spoon of maple to Marky's mouth, and Marky Maple would open it and take it out. But she's delivering the maple. But she tried straight, but Marky wouldn't open his mouth. So she went through various other maneuvers to deliver the maple. So often, outreach is like that, dealing with Marky Maple. Speaking very bluntly, in Chicago, Srila Prabhupada once said that devotees asked him, if people refuse to engage in Krishna service, they refuse to take a book, in some way they repudiate or they don't take to our preaching, is it our fault? And Prabhupada replied that it's always their fault unless you unnecessarily make them angry and they go away without doing any service. They go away without making any, fulfilling any opportunity to serve Krishna. They're just angry and mad. He said, it's always their fault unless you unnecessarily enrage them. So then he explained further that they are snakes, but you have to be an expert snake charmer. I took that to mean that it's a whole career development in bhakti, how to give the medicine, and indeed give the medicine, but in a way that people will assimilate, but still the medicine has to be there. Another example, I was discussing this in Mumbai with some God brothers. We were discussing various issues. And I remember a letter that Prabhupada wrote in New York Temple, because at that time the devotees were going out selling books and collecting money based on feeding people in Bangladesh. I remember some of my God brothers going on the trains in New York City and just making an announcement. We're collecting for Bangladesh. The people are dropping like flies, even though the humans, please give something to feed the starving people. So this got back to Prabhupada, and he wrote a very deep letter to the New York Temple. He said, it's true that everything belongs to Krishna, and that you can say any damn thing, because everything is Krishna's property, and they are thieves, and so you can say anything. And he gave the example of how devotees collecting for Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would sometimes make up stories that our Guru Maharaj is living in the forest on just a few tulsi leaves. Can you please do something? So Prabhupada started out like that. Then he's qualified. He started on the absolute platform, then qualified. He said, the problem with this saying anything is that, first of all, neophytes may become disturbed because they're not abreast with the transcendental reality. They may feel disturbed due to ordinary morality. And secondly, we are a preaching organization operating within the material world. So if we act in a certain way that compromises our preaching, that's not good. Then he went further, that, all right, you're saying so many things to sell the books, but I'm convinced there's enough value in our books that people will be impressed just because Krishna is all attractive. I think there's enough attractiveness in our books that if you just present Krishna as he is in the books, that is the best selling policy. But then ever the realist Prabhupada pointed out, in the next line he said, but that is a long and gradual art. And finally he ended the letter, in the meantime, don't reduce your DBT submissions. So how do you put all that together? we were discussing in Mumbai, some sannyasi godbrothers, and we could see that Prabhupada was recognizing our youthful enthusiasm, and he also wanted to make a transcendental point about how you could say anything. At the same time, he's cautioning us probably, look, this is a preaching organization, you have to be careful about your reputation. Devotees are not all advanced, they may react to apparent violations of morality. And so you're acting in a certain way now, but there is a better way. And Prabhupada was very strong that in my books, you can just say what they are. There's enough attractiveness there because Krishna's all attractive, but he conceded it's a long and gradual art. So we were discussing, these senior devotees, that we, as older devotees, have to demonstrate that long and gradual process. Otherwise, younger devotees will have not an example to follow. We're not young devotees anymore, many of us, and so we have to lay down the clear path that indeed Krishna's all attractive. Otherwise, if we don't do it, who will? All right, it's a long and gradual process, but we've been around for quite a few decades, many of us four decades. So we have to demonstrate that that's the road to trava. And Prabhupada said it's the best road. But he conceded it's a long and gradual process. All right, it may be a lifetime mission, but what else is life meant for? And then, ever the pragmatic, he concluded by saying, okay, in the meantime, don't reduce your vibhuti submissions. The temples in India, they have to be built, so on and so forth. So he gave a whole panorama of pragmatics, the way things should be going, how we should be developing, how we should grow, and same time acknowledgement of everyone's contingencies, but saying it's not the best thing, and certainly in some ways you'll get in trouble by doing that. But he stayed off the mundane morality platform. Everything belongs to Krishna. He made that clear in the very beginning, but you have to take into account these factors in terms of public's perception, devotees' perception, and your own spiritual development. So always remember that letter, a long and gradual art. It's the best, but it's long and gradual. So we were discussing in Mumbai how our senior Vaishnavis need to demonstrate that the fruits of that long and gradual art, without going to the absolutist extreme. Just walk up to someone and here it is, the absolute truth. At the same time, we still have to deliver the Vaibhav. So this is intelligence and this is management. How to create an interest in Krishna where there is none. A very fascinating definition of management given by Srila Prabhupada. So this was our conclusion in the older devotees and those who want to be older devotees have to set that example of some or other figuring out how to get the maple in the mouth. But you have to get it's maple on the spoon now. You have to get it in the mouth. And it may take a while to figure out. But the constant effort to strive in that way attracts Krishna's attention. You can get away with certain things as a young devotee, but young devotees, hopefully they'll become older devotees. And the way you become an older devotee is confidence in Krishna, following in Prabhupada's footsteps. How are these people ever going to become Krishna conscious? Well, it's impossible. But I know that if they can hear Srimad Bhagavatam, that will cleanse all the dirty things in their heart. It will be possible. Okay, how to arrange that people hear Srimad Bhagavatam? Well, there's so much room for creativity in that. There's so much room for hospitality. There's so much room for personal sensitivity according to time and place. But the mapo is on the spoon. It's got to go in the mouth. Maybe not today, but tomorrow. So in this way, preaching is such an extraordinary activity, and it absorbs our best intelligence. It absorbs our emotions, trying to satisfy the parampara in this way. Any questions, comments, or senior Vaishnavas? Yes.
I had one thought. It's a lot to think about. Earlier you mentioned about how we have this choice, you know, and that choice is always there. It becomes easier if you keep making the right choices. I was thinking that, isn't it true that sometimes the choice is not so clearly Krishna or Maya, but it's you're choosing, say if you're becoming Krishna conscious, you're choosing something that will help you to be Krishna conscious. Like someone comes to the temple, they're not doing, oh, all right, I'm surrendering to Krishna. They say, well, let me check out, I like the incense and I like the prasadam, and they have some nice guys there, or something. In other words, that's the choice. And that's also part of the art of preaching, where you give people a chance to make a choice that they don't really know is leading them to ultimate surrender and rejecting everything they ever thought was important. But it's putting them on the strings rather than pulling them in. Isn't that the idea? But the choice is still there, but it's not so radical a choice at first. It doesn't.
Well, I'll give you an example of some things that I arrange for at outreach centers that I personally supervise. We have yoga classes going on simultaneously in another room with a Bhagavad Gita class. And so what happens is that people are coming for yoga. Due to attraction to the yoga teacher, they start asking, questions, what's going on in that other room? And they also see it on the agenda, they see it on the schedule. This is Gita Mysteries, what's that all about? And so the choice is always there. And their curiosity gets aroused sooner or later. If they just want to be die-hard yogis, well then they pay the price. They don't support the center. But simultaneously, there's always something else going on. Of course, we have big enough places to do that.
There's also a flip side to that.
Mm-hmm.
You're going along as a devotee. You're not yet achieved the goal of pure prema bhakti, and but you got your routine going, and but then you start to let a little Maya creep in, but you're not thinking, oh, now I'm rejecting Krishna and I'm choosing Maya. It just seems like something that could even look like Krishna consciousness, somewhat, you know what I mean? But it's really beginning to take you into the association of the modes that, may actually pull you away.
Yes, that's why we all require association.
Yeah.
That's why I hang out with you.
Vice versa. Let's be honest.
Yes, Maya is very tricky. And it's not a hopeless situation dealing with Maya, but we have to take proper precautions. And the greatest precaution I found is the association of dedicated devotees, dedicated to Srila Prabhupada's pleasure. We have to have a healthy respect of the Vishnu energy. It can make up look down and down look up. That also happens in Gokul Vrindavan, though. The gopis, when Krishna was leaving for Mathura, they presented, look, for you, just because of you, our friends have become enemies, and our enemies have become friends. In other words, our husbands and family members are supposed to be our friends, but we rejected them like enemies just for the sake of you. And the rival consorts like Chandravali and her party, they're supposed to be our enemies, but actually in the overall scheme of the Leela, they actually enhance. The rivalry and competition enhances everyone's transcendental rasa. So that way our enemies have become friends. And our homes have become the forest, and the forest has become our home. In that, instead of living at home, we're living in the forest. And our homes, our houses have actually become forests because we've given them up to live for our home in the forest. So that way they were presenting all these different contradictions to Krishna, all because of you. This is what's going on.
Yeah.
Anything else? But remember, we have no words of wisdom.
I have a question, but I'm looking at the time and
Okay.
what devotees have to do.
Okay. All right. I think you're saying worship.
Jai